Hello everybody, welcome to another Q&A at the Etiuda&Anima Film Festival. Today we will have, this time we will have 5 people and their films, and we will have Milena Schäpers, who is the creative producer of the film Good German Work. We will have Camila Pruzzo, a post-producer of the film Remember When We Used to Take a Train. With Midnight Jazz, we will talk to Jules Mathôt, and Gideon Imagor will tell us a little bit about his film Kosher. And then, last but not least, Josefine Scheffler will answer a few questions about Nightfall. Okay, so let's begin with Milena. Hi, nice to see you online, but it's still great that you're with us. Milena, in the movie Good German Work, you show the kind of, I would say, the underneath of the movie industry, the life and work of ordinary people. They work for something greater, bigger, and it's all taken both realistically and with a pinch of salt. And we have this scene with the cremation furnace, for example, when the director of the film wants to know if it fits a man. Is that some kind of a contrast between the seriousness of the movie they are making and how do they treat the topic behind the scenes? What does Good German Work satirize?
Okay, yeah. To start, it's our very dry humor about our past. Basically, we tried to deal with our feelings about the German past we have on our shoulders, our generation. So it's kind of normal for us to deal with it because it's a very big thing and we have to transmit it. As the last generation, we know the witnesses of the war. We have to transmit our past to the next generation. But the film wants to deal also with our feeling, how to deal with it. If we deal with humor, and also like you said, like the normal, ordinary craftsman, all of us, every German has to find a way to deal with it. So, maybe it's our very dry way to laugh a little bit about it, but also to show the insecurities still we have with our past, how to speak about it.
What was... I wanted to ask, what was the inspiration and why did you choose to show the story that way?
Because, like I said, it's our responsibility. Like I see it as our responsibility to deal with our past and also to learn from it. But we as a generation were always like thinking about the feeling, how to deal with it. So that was the inspiration. We did it also with the same team we did the short film before. It's called Comments. It's about hate speech in the internet. So that was our thing, like to do political topics as a crew. And yeah, that was very important for us to show.
And
our feeling.
Is there in the movie industry, we're talking about really that kind of a hierarchy between the ordinary workers and the actors and the bigger actors and those minor ones? Does it work that way in this movie industry? Do you satirize the real situation that happened?
Yes, I experienced it. I experienced it better, of course. But if a Hollywood production comes to Berlin, sometimes they see like other people who are living there as a service, and it's fine. Like for them, it's maybe not that emotional as for us, the topic. So they just see the craftsman as doing a service, nothing more, and that's what we liked about it.
And are you planning to do your next movie, I mean, in a similar way, in a similar sense of humor maybe, or you want to make something different?
In the same way, with the same humor, I think it's very important to not lose the humor in these days. But still, like this topic with discrimination and racism, I think it's not over. We still have to deal with it. Me, for example, I'm sitting here on Lesbos. You can see the camp of Movia behind. So there are topics still we need to talk about.
So you said that you're right now working on something at this moment. So how is it going during the pandemic and all of these things?
Yeah, I choose this difficult time, to still follow like the topics that are important for me, and that's why like currently I'm on Lesbos, but I'm doing a documentary. So yeah, unfortunately, not a short movie or a fictive material, but yeah.
Okay, and I want to ask about your film school that you attended, and what is so special about it? Why did you choose that one?
Oh, Babelsberg is very, very special. It has a very important past. It's a very important symbol for our film history in Germany, for especially the East Germany. That's why it's like so interesting. And now all the people like from the world come to Berlin, and it's very international. And yeah, we have a wonderful privilege there to use very good technique, to have very professional colleagues, and to get in contact with a lot of good people from the film industry. Yeah, I don't regret it.
Thank you very much for answering my question. It was great to see you.
Thank you so much.
Let's move to the second film, and we have here Camila Pruzzo, who is a post-producer of the film Remember When We Used to Take a Train. Hello. My first question will be connected with the production of the film. As I have read, it was not made with real archives. So, how long did it take to shoot it, and how many train rides did you actually have to take?
Hello. Well, the whole shooting took about 2 weeks. Patricio just rode the train every day for like 3 hours, or long as he could before he got dizzy. It was a very light team, so he could bring the camera and then and the recorder when he went around London. So every time that he went to visit a new place, he would film some shots. And in the middle of the editing, he had to go to get some specific shots to places that he was in, but couldn't film the first time. So he looked for specific moments and specific places. So he had to. So he had the help of a lot of friends while he was studying in London, where they recommended places, and then he would visit them.
So during the shooting of the movie and riding all those trains, did you discover something new in watching London from the train's perspective? Something you probably did not pay attention to before?
Yeah, the idea of the documentary was also showing a different side of London in Patricia's perspective. So it was about paying attention to the little things that nobody pays attention to. Like he was a student and a foreign in London, so he took like a special perspective. So things like the back of the buildings, the shaft going through trees, the reflection of the train on the nearby windows. That's what he was looking for. It allowed to him an experience of beauty that that's found within the mundane.
And in the film, we hear a dialogue between a husband and wife, and this kind of takes the whole plot. And was the dialogue preferred before, or were they spontaneous words? Was it written down before?
Yeah, it's like a mix of things, because he had a rough outline about what they're going to talk about. So they sat for a couple of hours and they just talked to each other while they're wearing microphones. So, but a lot of the film relies on her reacting and improvising to the lines said by Patricio. So he had sort of a kind of script, but she didn't know about it. So she had no idea what they're gonna talk about. So a lot of the energy of the film comes from that. Like, it makes it emotional and true in a sort of way.
Yeah, it all seems very natural, actually, the whole conversation between them. And I will repeat the question that was actually asked in the film a few times. What do you want to say, to untangle by it? What was the idea behind it? Where did it come from? What is the film about?
It's a pretty hard question. So, well, when they got back to Chile, Patricio and Nicole broke up, actually. So the documentary was a kind of a therapeutic experience. He wasn't feeling like in the best place in that moment, and the relationship was having a lot of problems. And this documentary allowed him to make these thoughts and feelings have an actual body. They exist and they're real. So the main motivation behind it was Patricio didn't really have money to go to shoot outside London. So he thought of something that could be done on a micro budget. So at first, it started as a way of connecting London to his memories from Chile in a way, and a sort of psychogeography exercise in his words. So it all changed when Nicole started to react to more and more while they were shooting. So the documentary became more and more about their relationship, also about belonging or not to each other and the city itself.
And what was the biggest challenge, I mean, in producing the movie for you and for them? What do you think?
Maybe for him was to talk about his feelings and what was happening, because he was like studying there and trying to make, he didn't make just one movie, but make some exercise too and short films. So I think for him it was like going through this whole emotional experience, like having his marriage to started to to end, and so try to be creative and being in another country totally different from he come from, where he comes from. And for me it was like trying to get those emotions and try to put them in the sound design too. It's pretty hard because I was like really interested on the sounds of the train on another country that I haven't been, never, like I never been to London. So it was like a pretty like a pretty hard thing to nail. Like I work with the emotions of my friend Patricio and trying to get his materials and give them like a structure.
And what are you planning to do next? Any future plans for the films?
Well, Patricio is now shooting in New York, and I keep working at post production sound because of the pandemic. I'm not feeling sure working on set right now, so I have some animation. I'm working in a animation right now in a series, and that's like I'm going like pretty baby steps. Like from now, I'm working in post production sound and in some projects I'm not thinking about the future right now.
Yeah, that's understandable. Because of the pandemic, we are not sure what will happen, and yeah, it is a very hard time for filmmakers, actually.
Yeah.
But fingers crossed for you, and I hope everything will be all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's move to next person, Jules, and the film Midnight Jazz. I have read that you call your movie a modern day film noir. Can you elaborate on it a little bit more and tell us about your main inspirations? You know, the radio, the jazz. How did it start? I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
I switched my microphone off. First of all, I would like to thank you for having me. It's a great honor. Yeah, the film noir part. I'm really inspired by classic noirs. I like the genre really a lot, and I wanted to do something with it. And when I got inspired by two aspects, I felt that in genre was the right way to tell the story. These aspects are a radio DJ. In 1982, Donald Fagen made a record. He's a singer, a lead singer from the band Steely Dan, and he made a solo album called The Nightfly. In this album, he sings about this late night DJ who's very melancholic. He is lonely and he talks to strange people in the night. And I found this very interesting, this character. The other inspiration is the little white house in the Dutch landscape. It's actually a place that I know very well, and I've known it from since I was young. And I think it's very, very mysterious and interesting, and I wanted to do something with it a long time already. So when the opportunity arose, I combined the late night DJ and the little white house. And I found that the genre of film noir binded the whole thing together. And that's how Midnight Jazz started to happen.
I have a question about the colors in your film, because the two dominant colors are the neon red and blue. And do they stand for anything? Do they symbolize anything? What is the meaning of them, of the colors?
Yeah, you can read them like very literal. Like the red color is stands for the radio DJ, he's live on air. And the blue color stands for the night, the young man. But of course you can also read them symbolic or yeah, they are two opposites, but they also come together and form the color purple when they make contact. So yeah, opposites and making a new color, that's maybe one of the inspirations, and also what ties them to the characters in the film as well.
And as we are talking about particular elements, I paid attention to sound, to different sounds used in your movie. For example, the sound of the birds. And what does it stand for? How did you come up with that idea?
I really like, I wanted to make, and I think that's also the main reason why I wanted to make this film, is that I just wanted to make a film, and a nice film, and a film that has like a very convincing audiovisual experience. And that started, of course, with good visuals, but also with good sound design. And the whole film was made in sound design, so to say. We didn't use any sound that was recorded on set, and everything was made in the studio. And we wanted to create, me and my sound designer, we wanted to create a very special tension in this new universe with this red and blue colors, but also with this sound, the sound that implies some kind of a danger in the beginning of the film, and makes a link to a world that we know, but also makes a link to a world that we are not familiar with. And I think this combination and this new space that is created via sound and via the colors is a very interesting one. And I hope that the audience loses itself in this new universe.
And with those sounds, recording them, and the variety of techniques you use, how long did it actually take to create the movie, to cut it, and to make it a whole?
I think the scenario was developed in, I think, like a month, something like this. I got the inspiration, and the script was made very fast. But and then we shot the film in 4 days, 2 days in studio, 2 days on set with the little white house. But then the post-production came, and it took a long time. I think we filmed in May in 2018, which is already like 2.5 years ago, which is insane almost. And then the post-production took a really long time. There was like a lot of compositioning in the visuals. Grading took also a long time. And then sound design, of course, was I think the part that we worked on the longest. And I think it shows in the end. So that's a good thing.
And what are your plans for the next project? Will your next film be something kept in similar aesthetic and form?
Yes, I want to do something again with this film noir genre, and much more specific. I want the next film is going to be a detective film noir about detectives following each other. It will not heavily rely on these colors that I used before, and it will play, or the setting will be like a much more recognizable city. It's like a big city. But yeah, I like this universe, and I want to keep playing with it and making like the magic of cinema in this universe. So yeah.
And my last question will be about your film school. What is so special about it that you decided to attend it, and how do you feel?
So I'm studying in Kask in Ghent, in Belgium, and I really like this school still after these years, because they really focus on you as an artist, you as an auteur, so to say. And whatever you decide to make or to experiment with or to research, they try to really stand by you and help you in every way possible. So I think that is a really a big and a good part of my school, that they stand behind you as a maker, and you can choose whatever you want, but they will stand behind you and help you in the best way they can. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for answering my questions. It was nice to see you. And let's move to Gideon Imagor with the film Kosher. And actually, this film portrays a difficult topic, a topic of restriction of the freedom of women in the Orthodox community. How did the project start? Why you decided to take that particular topic under your wings? And what were your motivations, inspirations?
First of all, thank you very much for having me here. And regarding the question, the project, like I started this project from me being a very good friend of the script writer of Judith. And from like we studied together 2 years, and we planned at first to make this film together, and she wrote this film about basically her experience as an ex-Orthodox woman in Bnei Brak in Israel. It's a very, very like super religious community. And from knowing her and knowing basically her life story and knowing the experiences that she went through in her life, I felt very strongly that it was kind of my obligation to make this film happen. And like at some point she dropped school and she stopped dealing with cinema and with filmmaking because she was just very busy with her life story, and she has 3 kids, and she also got divorced from her husband. She married at a very, very young age, at 18, and then she immediately had 3 kids. And she was just very busy with handling the, I would say, like, even chaotic life that she has. So we started this project together. At first, we thought maybe I would shoot it and she would direct it, and we also, like, it took a really long time. And even at the auditions, we still thought of doing it together. And then at some point, she just couldn't handle, like, the weight that she carries as an ex-Orthodox woman. She just couldn't process it, and she just, like, mentally couldn't handle making a film about this subject and about something that touches her very deeply. So I kind of took the lead and made the whole thing all by myself, which which made the project take, instead of like 3 months, almost 2 years. But that's it. It also, like, the script was at first very different. It was about something that involves PTSD, like post-traumatic disorder that she had as an ex-Orthodox woman, and I had my own PTSD from military service, and I think this is why when I saw the script about, like, a person who is feeling trapped, I could very, very strongly identify with these feelings.
Was the place in which you shot your film a real bathhouse? And if yes, how did you manage to go inside? And how did you know exactly how such ritual looks like?
Yeah, it was an original. It's called, in Hebrew, it's called mikveh. So it was an original mikveh, which was also in use. So we had, like, very specific hours to be there. It was very, very, very hard to find an original place to shoot in, and I was very stubborn on, like, filming it in a real mikveh and not in a normal pool or something. And they also, the reason that they're not written in the credits is because they thought that we were shooting a wedding film of religious people. So so they, like, of course they didn't want to be, like, a part of it. In Israel, the Jewish and religious relationship is very complex. And I forgot the second part of the question, but that was about the mikveh place.
Part of the question it was how did you know exactly how such ritual looks like? Did you watch it? Did you manage actually to watch it, or did you read about it, did some research?
No, I did my research also with Judith, and also with many other ex-Orthodox women that I talked to. Also, the set was 80% feminist. I was also, like, the only male on set, because it was very important to create an intimate environment. And I did my research, talking to ex-Orthodox women who, many of them also spoke about the intensity of doing something that you really don't want to do, but you just grow up in this environment that you have to do it, and no one asks you to what you want to do, or if you want to do it, it's just like a Jewish obligation. So yeah, so many of them described a feeling that is, like, like you don't have a voice. You're being like an object moving from one place to another.
And I was also intrigued by the woman who was performing that ritual. Do you know how women like these are being recruited for this job?
Yeah, it's not really being recruited, because in Judaism there is a very it is very considered inside the Orthodox community to do this, because also they also get paid, and most of them, like many of them don't have official jobs. So being as official employee of the Rabbanut, of the Jewish communities, is very like considered high and very looked up to inside the Jewish Orthodox community. And also it's a very, like, even higher than that. It's inside the Bible, it is written that it is like a high, I'm not sure the word in English, but a good, like you will be considered good advantage in the next world and also in this life if you do this like job. And like it's not for yourself, it's for God and for like living in high spiritual level.
And,
like they don't see it as if they're looking down at women. They're just like, it's very important from Jewish angle.
And what message do you want to send through your film, for example, to other women who feel trapped in a similar way in their communities, like the main character?
I think it's mostly, like, in my opinion, relevant. I guess it's kind of like worldwide, but in my vision, it's like mostly relevant to Jewish women who are living very close to non-religious communities. And Tel Aviv and Bnei Brak is really close. I lived in Jerusalem for many years, so being involved with the Orthodox people is everyday life. And I always looked at them at some point, but I think that it's very important for them to have a feeling that they have a voice, and if they speak and say something, like to get, I don't want to say to get help, but you know, even inside their lives, their voice matters and their action matters. And I don't think they should, it's very hard not to when you grow up like this, but not to apply or say yes to everything that you're being told to do.
And will your next film be about a similar topic, or do you want to do something different?
My next film is going to a very different place. It's a documentary about the intelligence unit of Israel in the army. So it's like both are personal, but the next film I'm working on is more like personal documentary about experiences that I've had when I was younger.
Okay, thank you so much for answering my questions. Let's move on to the last person, and we have Josephine Scheffler with us with the film Nightfall. So in your film, you show a story of two people who both have their demons from their past, the dark past they're living in. Strong characters fighting for dominance. Can you tell us a bit more about what inspired you to create this story? What is the background? Where did you take that idea from?
Hello, thanks for having me at first. Yeah, sure. Well, it has been a very, very long pre-production, and I had in the end like 60 versions of the script, so it kind of changed during the process. But I started with a story about a truck driver, of course, because my father is a truck driver, and I wanted to make a movie about the feeling that I had when I was a child and was driving with him in the truck by night. But I usually tend to do genre movies, so I wanted to mix that up, and I usually like to have this fight or this dominance between female and male, and so it's all coming together with these different pieces, and yeah, that is kind of how it worked out, and yeah, I think so.
And what is the symbolism for each character? For example, for the wife of the truck driver, who is she? What is she, a symbol of something? Is she real, or it was supposed to be just, I don't know, his imagination? What does it stand for?
Well, she is real, at least in my opinion. I mean, there's always ways to interpret this kind of movies, and I like that the audience makes their own movie out of my movies, to be honest. But she's supposed to be real. And when we get to symbolism, it's of course a story of freedom. I mean, the truck or the back of the truck is like a jail in the end, but it's the truck as itself that stands for his martyrium, that he is locked in this destiny that he can't escape of, and she is kind of remembering him all the time via the radio kind of thing. And so he is locked in this kind of existence he can't escape from, but he wants to. So that's why he sees the purpose in Ingrid, and she just got free from an existence she doesn't want to have, and so he kind of knows that she's willing to do everything for freedom, and he wants to use her, and in the end he finds out that he's still at least in his head is kept in his own destiny, and that's why she kind of becomes this mirroring of his actual wife. And so in the end both of them are getting caught in their own jail again and are not allowed to be free. And that's kind of the symbolism of the truck.
And I want to ask about the actors that you picked to perform the roles of the main characters. How did you find them? Because I was really intrigued by their performances. It was very real, very dynamic.
Thank you. Well, I tend to do a really long casting process because I know that I'm going to spend a lot of time with them, and that it gets always personal. And then you have to know that in the middle of the night in the winter, when it's freezing cold, you still can tell them how the scene has to be, and that they are willing to do it for the character and story. And so I do a lot of talking before shooting, and I do a lot of casting, especially for Ingrid. We did a lot of casting, but we also did a lot of rehearsals when we when we had Gideon and Carlotta, who are the main protagonists. We did rehearsal for almost every scene where they had to interact, because we wanted to make sure that the nuances between these two still have this kind of longing for each other and for their freedom, but still have this kind of aggressiveness to them. And so that would have worked out in every scene and in every shot, of course. So it's always been the two actors and the camera and me, and trying to find solutions that express the topic or the theme of the film at its best. And so, yeah, it's actually a kind of really, really much time, really much work together, and in the end, hopefully, a lot of trust that everyone is getting the sense of the film and is doing the best for it. And I was happy that that was the case.
So, was it the biggest challenge for you while making the film, the casting or the script? What was the most difficult?
Well, the most difficult was probably Laura, I mean the wife, as you said, because it was so much makeup, special effects stuff, and these things are costing a lot of money and time, and getting the truck was really, really hard because we had it for free at first, and then that one changed, and then we had to get enough money to have the truck, and I really wanted to have this big, enormous truck for the story. And so shooting at night in winter with a lot of special effects stunts and the truck on budget was kind of hard, but yeah, I think that was kind of the hardest part. And from acting, yeah, as I said, it's always this middle way of getting this tension between actors, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer. And if you're on time and at night, that is definitely hard, to be honest.
And what are your plans for your next project? Are you planning something similar in form or something different?
Well, I grew up with three brothers, so I'm kind of used to watching horror movies, and I think that I can't change that way of thinking, and I'm always going to be attracted to genre. But the next one will be a feature film, hopefully. I'm still writing on it, but it will be the last one in film school, and so it is supposed to be a feature film. It's going to be very personal and a little bit more from the village kind of side where I come from, but with genre and horror in it, and probably a bit more psychological horror, probably, but it's definitely going to work in the kind of mood that the world of Nightfall is a bit of, I guess.
And you mentioned your film school, and that will be my last question. What made you choose that particular school? What is so special about it?
Well, what I like about DFB in Berlin is that it's really, really, to be honest, but this is a good thing because you really get to know everyone in the shortest amount of time, and they really have this personal connection to you, and they try to support you whenever they can. I mean, at least Nightfall wouldn't have been possible if the school wouldn't have believed that I can pull it off. So because there were a lot of points where we are on the verge of giving up, but in the end they supported me all the way long. And actually my school is not very known for genre movies. It's a bit more this art house, classic kind of way, although that is changing. So this is really special that they nevertheless always keep their eyes open and try to support everyone in a very personal way and to get the best thing that is possible under the circumstances. And that is what I really like and appreciate.
Thank you. Thank you all, because this was the last question in this Q&A session. It was great to have you here. And I just want to thank you all again. And thank you all for watching, and see you in the next Q&A. Thank you.
Na da dee. na da di, na u, na i, na